The stars looked different from the bridge of the Time's Infinite Curiosity asterisk. Crixtal stood at the main console. His 3 eyes focused on the blue and green planet below. Earth, such a strange name for a world so full of water. Another successful scan, Director, Thelvan said, his voice carrying that eager tone of a young researcher. He was new to Xenobiology collection, fresh from the academy. Sector 7 shows multiple specimens, suitable for study. Crixtal nodded, his head crest shifting to show approval. The Galactic Scientific Collective had sent them here to gather samples of Earth's wildlife. Nothing unusual. They had done this on hundreds of worlds before. Earth creatures were primitive. Simple things, their scans showed nothing remarkable. What do the threat assessments show? Crixtal asked. Thelvan pulled up the data on a floating screen. All within acceptable parameters, Director. The largest predators rate at level 6 out of 10. Most are level 3 or below. One location shows particular promise, a conservation facility in the southern continent. Multiple species in one location. Efficient, Crixtal said. Prepare the collection team. Far below, on Earth, Dr. Minho Park locked the gate to the animal enclosure. It had been a long day at the conservation center in South Africa. The sun was setting, painting the sky in colors of orange and red. Minho loved this time of day. The animals were settling down, and the air grew cool. He walked toward his office, checking his tablet. The wild dogs had eaten well. The caracals were healthy. And Tejo, the honey badger, had been his usual troublesome self. Minho smiled at that thought. He had named the badger after his nephew because both of them never listened and got into everything they shouldn't. As Minho reached his office, something felt wrong. The air seemed to hum with a sound too low to hear but strong enough to feel in his chest. He looked up at the sky. The stars were too bright. Too many, and they were moving. What the? Minho started to say. Then everything stopped. His body froze mid-step. His hand stopped reaching for the door. Even his breath paused in his lungs. A blue light surrounded him, surrounding everything. Time itself seemed to hold still. Minho's eyes could still move, could still see, but nothing else worked. Panic tried to rise in him, but even his heartbeat had frozen. Above him, the Time's Infinite Curiosity Times activated its collection beam. Stasis field holding steady, Yel Mora reported from the ship's science station. No alerts from the local area. The humans appear to have no detection grid for our frequencies. As expected, Crixtal said. They are barely at the edge of their own star system. Proceed with collection. The beam of light touched down on the conservation center. One by one, animals began to vanish from their enclosures, pulled up into the waiting ship. The African wild dogs went first, still frozen in whatever position they had been in. Then, the caracals, then the honey badger, caught mid-dig at the corner of his fence, and because he was nearby, the stasis field had caught Minho too. The beam didn't discriminate. It lifted him along with the animals. Inside the ship's receiving bay, Thelvan watched as the specimens materialized on the platform. His scanner was already analyzing each one, feeding data into the ship's main computer. The African wild dogs appeared first. The scanner hummed and beeped. Canid species. Pack hunter. Threat level. 3 out of 10. Recommend standard containment. The caracals came next. Felid species. Solitary hunter. Threat level. 2 out of 10. Standard containment approved. Then came the honey badger. Tejo materialized, frozen in his digging position, dirt still clinging to his claws. The scanner ran its analysis. Thelvan watched the data scroll past. Mustelid species. Mass. 12 kilograms. No venom detected. Claws. Class 2. Non-retractable. Teeth. Standard omnivore configuration. Social behavior. Solitary. Threat level. 0.5 out of 10. Classification. Negligible threat. Small scavenger species. 7D. 0.5 out of. Small scavenger species. Thelvan looked at the creature. It was small, with black and white fur, and a flat, almost cute face. The scanner said it ate insects and small animals. Nothing dangerous at all. He marked it for open observation in a standard terrarium. No need for the reinforced containment they would use for the wild dogs. Sir, we also collected a human, one of the technicians said. Another specimen? Crixtal asked over the communicator. Appears to be accidental. He was in the collection zone. Keep him for observation as well. The collective will want data on the local intelligent species. Place him in an observation cell. The stasis fields deactivated slowly. Minho gasped as his body unfroze, stumbling forward. Strong hands caught him, hands with too many fingers. He looked up into a face that wasn't human. 3 eyes stared back at him. Gray skin, a crest of bone where hair should be. Minho tried to scream, but something covered his mouth. A mask! It hissed, and sweet-smelling gas filled his lungs. His vision blurred. The last thing he saw before darkness took him was Tejo, the honey badger, being carried away in a containment box. When Minho woke up, he was in a room made of materials he didn't recognize. The walls glowed softly with blue light. A clear barrier stood between him and the rest of the space beyond. He could see through it, see a large laboratory filled with strange equipment and aliens moving about. He stood up fast, his head spinning. Hey, let me out. His voice echoed in the small cell. None of the aliens turned to look at him. A moment later, a sound came from a speaker somewhere. It was his own words, but translated into something else. The aliens glanced at him briefly, then returned to their work. Across the room, Minho saw something that made his blood run cold. They were setting up a terrarium. A simple one. The kind you might use for a lizard or a small snake. And walking into that terrarium, looking around with calculating eyes, was Tejo. No, Minho said. He pressed against the barrier. It shocked him, and he jerked back. No. Not him. You need stronger containment, he shouted in Korean, then in English, trying to make them understand. That animal is dangerous. You don't understand. It's not what your machines say, but the aliens didn't listen. Why would they? Their scanners had told them everything they needed to know. The honey badger was harmless. Just a small scavenger. No threat at all. Minho watched in horror as they sealed Tejo in the simple enclosure. The badger sat down, looking around the new space. His small eyes took in everything. The walls, the ceiling, the door, the aliens moving outside. And Minho, who had worked with honey badgers for 5 years, recognized that look. It was the same look Tejo got right before he did something destructive. You fools, Minho whispered. You have no idea what you've done. Minho pressed his face close to the barrier, ignoring the small shocks that tingled across his skin. He had to make them understand. Across the laboratory, Tejo sat in his new enclosure. And that was a disaster waiting to happen. Please, Minho shouted. You're making a mistake. In the control room above the laboratory, Crixtal watched the human through the observation window. His translator had picked up the words, converted them into his language. The human was afraid. Expected. Lesser species always feared what they didn't understand. The human is experiencing stress, Yelmora said, reading the biological data from Minho's cell. Heart rate elevated, adrenaline present. Should we sedate him? Not yet, Crixtal said. Let him adjust. We need baseline behavioral data on unaltered humans. What is he saying now? We need baseline behavioral data. What is he saying now? The translator processed Minho's shouts. He claims the small mustelid is dangerous. He insists we need stronger containment. Crixtal's crest shifted in the way his species showed amusement. The creature that weighs 12 kilograms? The one our scanners rated at 0.5 threat level? Ah, he made a sound like clicking stones. The human's emotional attachment to the creatures in his care is clouding his judgment. Document this as an example of primitive species forming irrational bonds with lesser animals. Yelmora recorded the note, Neither of them had any idea how wrong they were. In another cell 3 sections away, Yuna woke up. Her head pounded. The last thing she remembered was working late at the research station in Antarctica, checking ice core samples. Then light. Then nothing. She sat up slowly, her hands touching cold metal. No, not metal. Something else. Smoother. The walls glowed with soft blue light. Through a transparent barrier, she could see a corridor, and walking past that corridor was something that definitely wasn't human. Yuna's scientific mind tried to process what she was seeing. Tall, gray skin, 3 eyes, 4 arms. This wasn't possible. Except it was happening. "Hello?" she called out. Her voice shook. "Can anyone hear me?" The alien walked past without stopping. Maybe it didn't hear her. Or maybe it didn't care. Yuna stood up and explored her small cell. 3 meters by 3 meters. A bench built into one wall. A small alcove that seemed to be a bathroom, though it looked nothing like any toilet she'd ever seen. And the barrier, humming with energy. She touched it carefully. It shocked her fingers. Not enough to hurt badly, but enough to warn her away. She pulled back and looked out into the corridor again. That's when she heard it. A voice, shouting in Korean. "Don't understand. That's not a safe animal. You need better containment." Yuna's heart jumped. Another Korean? Here? She moved to the side of her barrier that faced toward the voice and shouted back, "Hello! I can hear you. Where are we?" The voice stopped, then came back, excited. "You speak Korean? Are you from Earth?" "Yes, I'm Yuna. I was in Antarctica. Where are you?" "Minho. I was in South Africa." There was a pause. "I think we're on a spaceship. Aliens took us." Before Yuna could respond, her barrier suddenly changed. It became less opaque. She could see through it better now, and what she saw made her gasp. She could see into a large laboratory. Equipment everywhere. None of it familiar. Aliens working at stations. And in the middle of the room, in a simple, glass-like terrarium, was a honey badger. "Oh no," Yuna whispered. She had studied animals before switching to climate science. She knew what honey badgers were capable of. "Can you see it?" Minho's voice came again, clearer now. "I see it," Yuna said. "Minho, we need to warn them." "I've been trying." "They're not listening." Yuna watched as an alien approached the terrarium. This one was younger than the others, she could somehow tell. He carried what looked like enrichment items, things to keep an animal busy. Food. Toys. He was going to open the enclosure. "No!" Yuna shouted, pounding on her barrier. "Don't open it!" The alien paused, looked up at her cell. The translator must have worked because he looked confused. Then, dismissive. He turned back to the terrarium. In the control room, Crixtal saw both humans shouting now. "What are they saying?" "Both are warning about the mustelid," Yelmora said. "The female human is showing extreme agitation. Heart rate critical." "Fascinating," Crixtal said. "Such concern for a simple creature. This emotional attachment is stronger than documented in our files." "Continue." Observation. "Should we stop Thelvan from enrichment placement?" Crixtal considered it, then shook his head. "No. The scanner data is clear. The creature poses no threat. This will be an excellent chance to observe human psychological responses to perceived danger to animals they care about." It was a decision he would regret for the rest of his life. Thelvan opened the feeding port on the terrarium. It was a small opening, just big enough to slide food and objects through. Standard procedure for low-threat specimens. He reached for the enrichment ball, ready to place it inside. Tejo had been sitting quietly since they put him in the enclosure. He had watched everything with those small, dark eyes. He had seen the walls, tested them with his nose, found the door, found it locked, found the small feeding port. And when it opened, he was ready. The aliens had scanned his body. They had measured his weight, his teeth, his claws. They had analyzed his biology and found nothing remarkable. What they hadn't scanned was his mind. They hadn't measured his will. They hadn't understood what millions of years of evolution on Earth had created. Honey badgers didn't survive by being big. They didn't survive by being venomous. They survived by being too stubborn to die and too fearless to back down. Tejo saw the opening. He saw the alien's hand reaching in, and he did what honey badgers do best. He attacked. The explosion of movement was so fast that Thelvan barely saw it. 1 second the creature was sitting calmly. The next second it was a blur of black and white fur, claws, and teeth. Tejo's jaws clamped down on Thelvan's hand. The alien's exoskeleton, designed to protect against most natural weapons, cracked under the pressure. Thelvan screamed a high-pitched sound that echoed through the laboratory. He tried to pull his hand back, but Tejo's loose skin, designed to let him twist away from predator bites, let him contort and pull himself through the narrow opening. In 3 seconds, he was out of the terrarium. In 4 seconds, alarms started blaring throughout the ship. In 5 seconds, Tejo, the honey badger, was loose in an alien research laboratory, and he was absolutely furious. Minho watched it happen. He wanted to feel vindicated, to say, "I told you so." But mostly, he felt terror, because now Tejo was in unknown territory, surrounded by unknown creatures and technology, and that meant the badger would do what came naturally: destroy everything. "Here we go," Minho whispered. Yuna, watching from her cell, said a prayer in Korean. Not for the aliens, for their equipment. Thelvan stumbled backward, his hand still caught in Tejo's jaws. He shook his arm wildly, trying to dislodge the creature. The honey badger held on, his teeth grinding through the alien's protective exoskeleton like it was dry bread. "Get it off! Get it off!" Thelvan screamed. 2 other researchers ran toward him. One grabbed a containment pole, the kind they used for aggressive specimens. He jabbed it at Tejo. The pole had a mild electric charge, enough to discourage most animals. Tejo felt the shock run through his body. His muscles twitched. And then he let go of Thelvan's hand, not because he was hurt, but because he had a new target. He latched onto the containment pole instead, his claws finding purchase on the smooth surface. The researcher tried to shake him off. Tejo climbed up the pole like it was a tree branch, moving toward the alien's hands. The researcher dropped the pole. Smart move. Tejo hit the ground, rolled, and was back on his feet in less than a second. The laboratory had become chaos. Aliens scattered in every direction. Tejo didn't chase them. That wasn't his goal. Instead, he went after what interested him more: the equipment. He spotted a machine humming with power. Lights blinked on its surface. Tejo approached it, sniffed it, then bit down on a bundle of cables running from its side. Sparks exploded. The honey badger jerked his head back, cables ripping free. The machine's lights flickered and died. An alarm started beeping. Section 7 power loss. Someone shouted in the control room. Crom. Crom. Crixtal stared at the monitors in disbelief. How? How is this possible? It's just a small... Director. Containment breach in Laboratory 2. Yelmora interrupted. The mustelid has damaged primary power conduits. Deploy the security drones. Use the neural stunners. In the laboratory, panels in the ceiling opened. Small floating drones emerged, each one equipped with a stunner designed to safely incapacitate specimens without permanent harm. They locked onto Tejo's heat signature and fired. Blue bolts of energy hit the honey badger. His body seized up. He fell to his side, muscles twitching from the neural disruption. The drones hovered, ready to fire again if needed. For 5 seconds, Tejo lay still. Minho, watching from his cell, felt a moment of relief. Maybe it was over. Maybe they had stopped him. Then Tejo got up. He shook his head like a dog shaking off water. His legs wobbled, but held. And the look in his eyes was no longer just angry. Now he looked personally offended. "Impossible," Yelmora whispered, watching the monitors. That was enough voltage to stop a Krellian warbeast. Those creatures weigh 300 kilograms. "Fire again," Crixtal ordered. The drones fired. This time Tejo was moving. Most of the shots missed. The one that hit him barely slowed him down. He had learned. The first shock had hurt, but he had survived it. And honey badgers remembered things that hurt them. Tejo leaped onto a lab table, skidding across its smooth surface. Glass containers shattered under his weight. Chemicals spilled, mixing on the floor. A purple smoke began to rise. More alarms joined the first. "Chemical contamination alert," a voice announced through the ship's speakers. "Laboratory 2 atmosphere compromised." The drones tried to track Tejo, but he was too fast, too unpredictable. He jumped from table to table, leaving destruction in his wake. His instincts, honed by thousands of generations of digging through tough soil and ripping apart beehives, found every weak point in the alien equipment. He discovered that the glowing panels came off if you bit them at the edges. He learned that the floating screens shattered satisfyingly when struck. And he found that certain machines made excellent things to dig under. Within 3 minutes, Tejo had caused more damage than most security threats caused in hours. "Seal the laboratory," Crixtal commanded. "Contain it before it reaches the main corridors." Heavy doors began to close, made of reinforced metal designed to hold against even the strongest creatures. Tejo noticed the doors moving. He saw his territory getting smaller. And he didn't like that at all. He charged the closing door, squeezing through the narrowing gap. His loose skin, his greatest evolutionary advantage, compressed and stretched. The door sealed shut on his hindquarters. For a moment, he was stuck. The aliens in the control room felt hope. Then Tejo simply twisted, contorted his body in a way that should have been impossible, and pulled himself through. A bit of fur caught in the door, but he was free. Now he was in the main corridor. "All personnel, evacuation of decks 3 and 4. Crixtal's voice echoed through the ship. "Containment team to corridor 7. Full armor protocols." Yuna, in her cell, watched through her barrier as aliens ran past. Panic clear on their strange faces. "Minho, can you hear me?" "I hear you," Minho's voice came back. "This is insane. What do we do?" "I don't know. I've never seen Tejo this angry before." In the corridor, Tejo found something very interesting. A wall panel with a grill over it. Air blew out from behind the grill, carrying scents from other parts of the ship. To a honey badger, accustomed to digging into underground tunnels and enclosed spaces, this was an invitation. He attacked the grill. His claws found the edges. He pulled and twisted. The grill, designed to be maintenance accessible, came free after 15 seconds of determined effort. Behind it was the ship's ventilation system. "No," Crixtal said, watching on the monitor. No. It can't be smart enough to." Tejo crawled into the vent. "It's in the environmental systems," Yelmora announced. "If it damages the air recyclers." "I know," Crixtal snapped. "Deploy teams at every junction. Seal off sections. We need to funnel it into a containment area." But honey badgers didn't funnel well. They went where they wanted, and what Tejo wanted was to explore every corner of this strange new territory and destroy anything that seemed threatening. The ship's AI, Overseer Cal, then activated its containment protocols. Energy barriers snapped into place at various corridors. Gas began pumping into the ventilation system, a sleeping agent, safe for most carbon-based life. Tejo crawled through the vents, the gas swirling around him. His eyes watered. His nose twitched. The gas irritated him, made breathing harder. But honey badgers had evolved dealing with smoke from destroyed beehives. Their respiratory systems could handle a lot of irritation. He kept moving. Below him, he heard noises, voices. He found another grill and looked through it. A room full of equipment, power conduits running along the walls, blinking lights everywhere. Tejo had found the ship's main power distribution center. He pulled at the grill. This one was stronger. It took him a full minute to get it loose. But determination was what honey badgers did best. The grill fell to the floor below with a clang. Tejo followed it down, landing on a control console. An alien engineer turned around, saw him, and screamed. Tejo looked at all the cables, all the machines, all the things that looked like they could be taken apart. His day had started with being frozen, kidnapped, and put in a cage. He had been shot with electricity, gassed, trapped. He was done being polite. Tejo began to tear into the power systems with systematic fury, and across the ship, lights began to flicker and die. The lights in Minho's cell flickered, then went out completely. For 3 seconds, darkness filled the space. Then, emergency lighting kicked in, bathing everything in red. The barrier holding him prisoner flickered too. Minho saw it shimmer, saw the energy field destabilize. He didn't hesitate. He threw himself against it. Pain shot through his shoulder, but the barrier gave way. It was only at half power now. Not enough to hold him. Minho stumbled through into the laboratory. Alarms blared everywhere. The red emergency lights made everything look like a nightmare. Alien researchers ran past him, too panicked to notice one human prisoner walking free. "Yuna," Minho shouted. "Where are you?" "Here, down the hall." Her voice came from somewhere to his left. Minho ran. His legs felt weak from being unconscious, then standing in a cell for hours, but adrenaline pushed him forward. He found Yuna's cell, saw her pounding against her barrier. It was still active, still at full power. He looked around frantically. There had to be controls somewhere. He spotted a panel on the wall next to her cell. Alien writing covered it, symbols he couldn't read, but there were buttons, switches, things that looked universal. "Stand back," he told Yuna. She moved to the far corner. Minho pressed buttons randomly, hoping for luck. On the third try, Yuna's barrier died. She burst out, grabbed Minho's arm. "Thank you, we need to—" An explosion somewhere above them shook the floor. Dust fell from the ceiling. "What was that?" Yuna asked. "Probably Tejo," Minho said. "He's really angry." They heard footsteps. A group of aliens ran past, carrying equipment that looked like weapons. They didn't even glance at the two humans. "They have bigger problems than us right now," Yuna said. "We should find a way off this ship." Before Minho could answer, a voice came from a speaker somewhere nearby. It was speaking Korean. Badly accented, clearly translated by a computer, but Korean nonetheless. "Attention humans. If you can move, come to Bay 7. Repeat, Bay 7. There is escape." Minho and Yuna looked at each other. "A trap?" Yuna asked. "Maybe. But what choice do we have?" The voice came again. "This is Jiho. I am Korean. I am trying to help. Bay 7. Please hurry." "That's a Korean name," Yuna said. "He sounds real." They started moving through the corridors, following signs that Minho hoped meant they were going the right direction. The ship rocked again. More alarms, more smoke rising from vents. They found other humans along the way. A woman named Nari, who said she was a veterinarian from Seoul. A man named Do-yun, an engineer who had been taken from an oil platform. 2 more women, Samin and Hana, both researchers. By the time they reached Bay 7, they had gathered 15 humans total. Bay 7 was a cargo area, full of containers and equipment. At a control console stood a young man with glasses, frantically typing on a holographic keyboard. "Jiho?" Minho called out. The man turned. "Yes. You made it. Please, help me with this. I'm trying to activate an escape shuttle, but their systems are—" Another explosion rocked the ship. Very complicated. Do-yun, the engineer, ran to help Jiho at the console. "Show me what you found." While they worked, Nari turned to Minho. "What's happening? Why is the ship falling apart?" "Honey badger," Minho said. Nari blinked. "What?" "The aliens kidnapped a honey badger. They thought it was harmless. Put it in a basic enclosure." Understanding dawned on Nari's face. As a veterinarian, she knew exactly what honey badgers were capable of. "Oh no. Oh. Those poor idiots. Should we feel bad for them?" Yuna asked. "They kidnapped us." "Fair point," Nari admitted. The lights in Bay 7 flickered. Somewhere distant, they heard a sound like tearing metal. "How's it going?" Minho called to Jiho and Doyun. Almost there, Doyun said. Their security is good, but their emergency overrides are got it. A door in the bay wall slid open, revealing a small shuttlecraft. It looked sleek and fast. Nothing like human spacecraft. Everyone in, Jiho shouted. The humans rushed for the shuttle. As they climbed aboard, the bay doors opened to show an alien standing there. Crixtal. He looked exhausted. His crest hanging low. Wait, he said. His translator made the words understandable. Please, wait. Minho stepped between Crixtal and the shuttle. Give us a reason not to leave. I want to offer a deal, Crixtal said. He held up his hands, showing he was unarmed. Help us contain your creature, and we will return you all to Earth. All of you. Plus full reparations. Technology. Resources, whatever you want. You're asking us to save you from a 12-kilogram honey badger? Yuna said. Crixtal's crest flushed a color they didn't recognize. Shame, maybe. Yes. Yes, Minho considered this. What about all the other Earth animals you took? Is this? We'll return them. All of them. And other humans? Any others in your, what did you call it? Galactic Collective? I can arrange for their release and return. Nari stepped forward. Update your databases. About Earth creatures. Your threat assessments are wrong. We will, Crixtal said. We already are. Please. Our ship's power core is destabilizing. If your creature damages it further, we could have a containment breach. That would kill everyone aboard, including you. Minho looked back at the other humans. Nari nodded. So did Jiho, Doyun, and Yuna. They had a chance to save lives. Even alien lives. And maybe get something good out of this disaster. I need something first, Minho said. I need a tranquilizer. A specific formula. What formula? Honey badger tranquilizer. Twice the normal dose for an animal his size. Your medical bay should be able to make it if I give you the compound breakdown. Crixtal spoke rapidly into a communication device. Done. We're synthesizing it now. What else? A long pole. Something to deliver the tranquilizer from a safe distance. And someone who can lead me to where Tejo is without getting us killed. I'll guide you, Yelmora said, appearing behind Crixtal. She looked terrified but determined. Nari stepped up. I'm coming too. I'm a vet. I know how to handle difficult animals. This is more than difficult, Minho warned. I know what honey badgers are, Nari said. I've worked with them. Not much, but enough. Minho nodded. He turned to Yuna. If this goes wrong, take everyone and go. Don't wait for us. Be careful, Yuna said. 5 minutes later, Minho and Nari followed Yelmora through the damaged corridors. They could track Tejo by the destruction. Torn panels. Sparking wires. Broken equipment. And occasionally, an alien running in the opposite direction, eyes wide with fear. They found him in the reactor control room. He had climbed onto the main control panel and was systematically biting through every cable he could reach. Warning lights flashed everywhere. There, Yelmora whispered, pointing. Minho saw Tejo and felt a strange mix of pride and horror. The little badger had taken on an entire alien spaceship and was winning. Okay, Minho said, checking the tranquilizer dart in the pole launcher. Let's end this before he destroys everything. Nari grabbed his arm. Minho, be ready. He won't go down easy. I know. Minho raised the launcher, took aim, and fired. The dart hit Tejo in the shoulder. He spun around, saw the humans and the alien, and his eyes narrowed. He recognized Minho. For a moment, something like confusion crossed his face. Then the tranquilizer began to work. Tejo swayed on his feet. He took a step forward, stumbled. His legs weren't working right. But he was still conscious, still angry. He tried to charge at them but fell sideways instead. Hit him again, Nari said. Minho reloaded and fired a second dart. This one caught Tejo in the hindquarters. The badger made a sound. Half growl, half whine. He tried to get up, Failed. Tried again. How is he still moving? Yelmora asked in disbelief. That dose should have dropped him instantly. Honey badger, Nari said simply, as if that explained everything. And it did. It took a third dart before Teho finally stopped struggling. His eyes closed. His breathing slowed to a steady rhythm. He was finally asleep. Minho approached carefully, ready to jump back if this was a trick. But no, the badger was truly unconscious. Minho knelt down and gently picked up Teho. The animal was heavier than he looked, solid muscle under that loose skin. Got him, Minho said softly. Let's get him secured before he wakes up. They carried Teho to a proper containment unit, a titanium-reinforced cage that Crixtal had frantically ordered prepared. It had triple locks, reinforced walls, and monitoring systems. This should have been his first enclosure, Minho said, settling Teho inside. Crixtal, watching through a video feed, said nothing. What could he say? The human was right. Over the next hour, the ship's crew worked to stabilize the power core. The damage was extensive. 17 major systems were offline. 42 minor systems damaged. The repair costs would be astronomical, but they were alive. In Bay 7, the humans waited. Crixtal had promised to return them to Earth, and they weren't leaving until he kept that promise. The director finally arrived, looking exhausted. His crest hung low, and his skin had a grayish tint that suggested stress. The ship is stable, he announced. We're preparing to return you to your planet. All of you, plus the animals we collected. He paused. I've also sent a message to the Galactic Scientific Collective. About Earth. About our mistakes. Randers, what did you tell them? Jiho asked. Crixtal pulled up a holographic display. This is the official report. You deserve to see it. The display showed a document. The alien writing meant nothing to the humans. But Crixtal's translator read it aloud. Emergency Reclassification Report. Planet Earth, Sol System. Previous designation, Class 2 Survey World. Reason. Indigenous species demonstrate threat levels that cannot be accurately measured by standard scanning protocols. This for 7. In description Divano, the 10u2.org 7. He scrolled down. We've updated the database for over 400 Earth species. New protocols require behavioral observation and consultation with local experts before any collection attempts. Yuna leaned forward. What about the honey badger specifically? Crixtal changed the display. A new entry appeared. This one showing a picture of Teho. Species. Mellivora capensis. Common name, honey badger. Previous threat rating, 0.5 out of 10. New threat rating, 8.5 out of 10. Recommended containment protocols. He continued reading. Titanium reinforced enclosures. Multiple redundant locking systems. Sedation required for any handling. No direct contact. Warning. Subject displays abnormal pain tolerance, extreme persistence, and problem-solving abilities far exceeding initial assessments. Minho couldn't help but smile a little. Crixtal continued. We've also added a special note. It says, cross-reference behavioral patterns with human species. Similar psychological profile. Neither species appears to acknowledge superior force or impossible odds as a reason to cease hostile action. You compared us to honey badgers? Doyun said. Based on this experience, the comparison seemed appropriate. Nari laughed. It started as a small chuckle but grew into full laughter. Soon, other humans joined in. Even Crixtal's crest lifted slightly. Perhaps the alien equivalent of a smile. What happens now? Yuna asked when the laughter died down. We take you home, Crixtal said. All of you. We've already located the others from your species in collective custody. 12 humans total from various collection missions over the past year. They'll be returned as well. And you won't come back? Minho asked. Crixtal was quiet for a moment. The collective has placed Earth under non-contact protocols, No collection missions. No abductions. No unauthorized landings. Earth is now considered too dangerous for standard research operations. Because of one honey badger. Because of what that one honey badger represented. If a creature we rated as nearly harmless could cause this much damage, we have to assume we've misunderstood your entire planet. He gestured to the display. Display. Your Earth evolved under conditions that prioritize survival traits we don't normally encounter. High aggression. Extreme pain tolerance. Refusal to submit. These traits appear across many of your species. Not just the large predators. He pulled up another image. It showed Earth from space. Your world is beautiful. But it's also terrifying. The collective has decided to wait. Perhaps in a few hundred years, when your species reaches the stars on your own, we can establish contact properly. As equals. Not as researchers collecting specimens. 2 days later, Minho stood in the South African Conservation Center. It was night. The same time of day when he'd been taken. But this time, he was back where he belonged. The aliens had returned everything. All the animals, including Teho, who was currently asleep in his enclosure, completely unaware that he had single-handedly changed Earth's status in the galaxy. Yuna stood beside Minho. She had decided to stay for a few days before returning to her research station. They had been through something impossible together, and neither wanted to be alone just yet. Do you think they'll keep their promise? Yuna asked. About not coming back? I think they're too scared not to, Minho said. In the enclosure, Teho woke up. He stretched, yawned, and went to his food bowl. Just another day for him. He had no idea he was now famous across the galaxy. No idea that somewhere in space, aliens were teaching their students about the day. A creature weighing 12 kilograms proved that threat cannot be measured by size alone. Minho watched the honey badger eat. You know what the funny thing is? Teho wasn't even trying to escape or destroy things out of malice. He was just being himself. Curious. Stubborn, refusing to be contained. Sounds like humans, Yuna said. Yeah, the aliens noticed that too. Above them, the stars shone bright. Somewhere up there, the Times Infinite Curiosity Times was limping to the nearest repair station, carrying a very expensive lesson about the dangers of underestimating small creatures from Earth. And somewhere in a government facility, 3 different intelligence agencies were reading reports about alien contact, about abductions and returns, and about a honey badger that had defended Earth without even knowing it. The reports would be classified. The public wouldn't know for years, maybe decades, but the files would remain, strange and true. About the day humanity's first real impression on the galactic community came not from astronauts or diplomats or scientists, but from Teho the honey badger, who simply refused to accept that his new cage was inescapable. Minho smiled, watching the animal dig at the corner of his enclosure, working on yet another escape attempt that would ultimately fail. Keep trying, buddy, Minho said softly. That's what we do best. In space, the Galactic Scientific Collective added one final note to Earth's file. It was written by Crixtal himself, based on his experience. Warning to all future missions. If you encounter humans or their planet's fauna, remember this. They evolved on a world that taught them survival, meant never giving up, no matter the odds. Treat them with respect. Treat them as equals. And for the sake of your ship systems, never, ever assume that small means harmless. Below that, someone had added a single sentence in smaller text. The honey badger incident proves that Earth doesn't create warriors by making them big, it creates them by making them too stubborn to quit. Earth remained uncontacted. Humanity continued on. Unaware of how close they had come to being classified as a lesser species, unaware of the visitor that had come and gone, all except for a small group of humans who knew the truth, who had seen the stars up close, who had witnessed what happened when the galaxy learned what Earth was really about, and one honey badger, who slept peacefully in his enclosure, dreaming whatever honey badgers dream about, completely unaware that he was a galactic legend. The end.